Welcome back to the OHL podcast, everybody. I'm Buckeye Boggs. That man over there is the wild man, Chris Wilds. We are back, and now we're going to talk about the offense a little bit. This past week, newly crowned or titled offensive coordinator Brian Hartline met with the media to answer some, shall we say, difficult questions, not only about the offense and about some of the players this summer who are going to be working towards playing time for his offense, but also kind of an incident that happened, Chris. Not too long ago, we made a video about it, in fact, about the unfortunate event the day after the spring game
Yes.
when he was in an accident in a side by side and had a little bit too much drinky when the police officers arrived to the scene of the accident. Kind of shut that down with the media a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
I kind of like what he said, and to be honest with you, I wrote an article
Yeah.
about it on Scarlet and Game. He said, "There's nothing I can really say. All I would say is that in hindsight, I probably would have rather went
Well,
to bed than rode in a side by side." He went on to say, "Everything provides a learning opportunity, and I would say it was a learning opportunity." He was then questioned one more time about the media about it, and he said, "I'm not going to talk about this situation anymore." And they didn't ask him anymore. He exudes confidence and he knows how to control a room. And that was masterclass on shutting the door on the media when they're trying to ask him questions he doesn't want to answer. Nope, redirect.
yeah.
And they followed him like like little children wherever he
Yeah.
wanted to go in that press conference.
This guy has gone to the Ryan Day School of Interviewing, let me tell you,
Sure.
because he can say everything and say nothing at the same time. Like you said, his confidence, just the way he controlled the media. The press could be a real pain in the backside, a real thorn in somebody's side from time to time. He just wasn't having it. I loved it. He just got up there and said, I'm not addressing this anymore. Move on. Because he was there to talk about football, to talk about some coaching additions, to talk about, like you said, some position battles. One of my favorite things, though, Eric, and I'm sure you're going to bring it up, was his discussion about the starting quarterback. That was just a great little back and forth. He's like, "Who? What? Huh? What?" You know, they were trying to get him to come out and say who the first string or the third string was going to be, and he just was like, "Huh? It's competition. What are you talking
He
about?"
was he was having a
He
lot
was
of
having
fun
fun.
with Tim May.
Yeah,
I mean, what are you asking? I don't understand your question. That makes
yeah.
no sense. Like he was just riding Tim May. Whenever Tim May would ask a question, he just kind of smirked and been like, "I don't understand what you're trying to say. Just ask the question." Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was hilarious to me. Like Brian Hartline is an incredibly intelligent human being. He's
Yes.
very well articulated. Like he can articulate a statement, and when he says things, he has a lot of meaning and there's a lot of thought behind it. Just like Ryan Day, when they say
Yeah.
things, you can read between the lines a little bit on the X's and O's side of things and on the development side of things.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that I really gathered from this press conference is that just like Ryan Day is really good at developing quarterbacks, Brian Hartline is really good at developing wide receivers. In case you didn't know, I
Just
mean,
ask an NFL scout if you have questions.
yeah, like we've seen the evidence of it, but now we're hearing the verbalization of it from him. How
Yeah.
he goes about things, what he does, what makes a certain wide receiver tick, what makes him a little bit better. And one of the things I really picked up from this, and here's the thing, and this is what I want to get at, and this is kind of the emphasis that I want to kind of direct this video towards. You know, Marvin Harrison's getting a lot of praise. He's getting a lot of pats on the back. He's getting a lot of press. Watch out for Emeka Egbuka. Brian
Oh,
Hartline has circled that guy's name
yeah.
multiple times to say, yeah, Marvin Harrison's great. Yeah, he does a lot of awesome things. He's fantastic. Check out what Emeka Egbuka is going to be this year. Like that's got me super excited that there's something that he knows about Emeka Egbuka and his development that we haven't seen yet. That he's going to take another step forward. I don't want to put that kind of
Pressure.
pressure on somebody, but I kind of feel like Emeka Egbuka can have a Jackson Smith and the Jigba 2021 type of season.
Well, and I'll tell you another name you mentioned there, Eric, was Julian Fleming.
Hmm.
I thought it was very interesting that he came out and I think kind of tipped his hand a little bit, saying these are our three starting guys. When he mentioned Fleming, I
And
think
we
to
all
start the
knew
season, maybe.
that.
Well, I
We
think there
all
was some
knew
question
that.
about Fleming to start the season,
Well,
but
health wise, but
but I'll tell you, what I really loved about that whole exchange too was the fact that, and you and I have been guilty of this as well as anybody. I think a lot of times we say, well, look at his father, look at his father's production. Well, it's not God given. It's not all God given.
not
And
all of
Hartline
it.
made sure to mention that. Look at the work they're putting in. Look at, and then he's like, well, we've got these guys out here on the field right now working on the jugs gun, and you guys aren't even talking about them. It's. I think he knows, like you said, exactly what to say. But again, yeah, I'm really excited to see what Emeka Egbuka does because I think there's going to be so much attention on Marvin Harrison Jr. Another name, like I said, Fleming might be somebody else to watch because if Egbuka starts taking off like we think he will, and they're going to be worried about these guys, we could have what's called the Garrett Olave effect,
Hmm.
where Wilson and Olave were on those outsides, and then they all of a sudden Jackson Smith and Jigba comes up and has this huge season to lead the pack in receiving there a couple years back, because they were so focused on those two other guys. I and I almost think that even if it's not Fleming, anybody that plays that third position may end up being in the position of getting those extra yards because there's going to be so much focus on Harrison Jr. and Egbuka.
It's gonna be very interesting to me who ends up in the slot. Like, we think it's a Buka,
I think it's.
but then all of a sudden Harrison's over there in the slot in spring ball, and then it's
Do
like,
you
okay,
think maybe they could do a rotation of it?
I absolutely think that. Here's what I think. I
He's just going to
think
bounce them all.
I think all three of them know all three wide receiver positions, and they can play all three, and they'll line up any place. And that could really jack up a defense if they're trying to play man on man and they're putting their best corner on Harrison, and then all of a sudden Harrison's in the slot, and then they roll Cade Stover
Mismatch
out to the
nightmare.
to the
Yeah,
outside, and there's a linebacker on the outside, and then out right lined up right beside him is one on one is Fleming. Good luck.
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things you can do schematically with an offense when all three of your wide receivers can play all three of the wide receiver positions.
And I think that speaks a lot to the intelligence. We've talked about the athletic ability in the room. I think that speaks a lot to the intelligence of the receiving room as well.
Oh yeah. The development. That's the
Yeah,
development I'm talking about.
yeah,
So this is going to be incredibly interesting. And the other thing that he brought up that I thought was really interesting, and here's where I think they're at as far as his personal development as an offensive coordinator and calling plays.
yeah.
I do not think he starts the season calling plays. I think Ryan Day's your play caller, but he's going to slowly turn the reins over to Brian Hartline, and he's going to do it a little bit at a time. Meaning, I could see him saying, okay, we get up by 4 or 5 scores. Fourth quarter, Brian, you get to call plays. Um, Second game, second quarter, we're up by a touchdown or two. Second quarter is yours, Brian Hartline. He's going to turn that over slowly to him. He's not just going to say, "Go ahead, it's all yours now." That's not what's happening here. They are developing him as a play caller just as much as he's developing the receivers in the wide receiver room. Okay. And the most recent hire to bring in the guy from Dallas who we talked about on the weekend, who was in Miami when Hartline was
Yeah.
there, who Hartline kind of helped bring to Ohio State, is just as much for Brian and his development as a play
Mhm.
caller as anything, including the offensive line help that he'll be able to help and participate with there with Justin Fry as well. But I found that incredibly interesting. I think Brian Hartline is going to develop as a play caller. I think he calls plays at the earliest, full time at the earliest next season in 2024. I don't think he gets full reins this year in 2023. That's my take on it.
And I could see that as a possibility. And I'm not going to lie to you, Eric. I think that Ryan Day wants to be the one to call the plays against that team up north this year.
I hope so.
I feel like he needs
Unless
that
he
as a
calls a game like he did last year, in which case he better let
well,
Brian
and
Hartline do it.
that's what I'm saying. I think he needs that as redemption for himself before he fully hands over the reins. It's not about redemption in the eyes of the media or in the eyes of the fans. I think it's about redemption in his own eyes. He needs to,
Personal.
yeah, he's got that personal desire that he has to right this ship.
Hmm.
I admire that. I do. Um, and just one last thing about Brian Hartline, and his confidence and developing. I really love the way that he's just like when they talked about how he's running the offensive meetings, and he's like, "Well, absolutely, everybody's you know got a voice in there, and they can say what they need to say." But he almost said they can say what they need to say, and then we'll decide if it's the right thing to do or not. But I just he is so confident to really have guys like Justin Fry, who has had some head coach mention in his past. You've got the guy that he brought in from Miami, and why do we always forget his name, Eric? Philbin, or
Yeah,
yeah, Philbin or
I
Philbin, or
haven't learned it yet. My apologies.
yeah, no, I haven't either. But I'll tell you, he's surrounded by a lot of guys with a lot more experience than he has. Um, and I think that goes to his confidence to say, I'm not afraid to have these people surrounding me or second guessing me. So I think that's huge for his development, and it's going to be even bigger in his next step when he eventually takes over his own team somewhere.
Which leads me to my last point. He loves Ohio State, man.
Yeah,
I don't know that he's going to leave for a while. Um, he loves this university. He declared that again. His dream might be one day to coach in the NFL because he played there as well. But he loves Ohio State. He loves Columbus. He's in a comfortable position. His family's all here, so there's no need for him to push on. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you tune in Sunday nights for our live show on Sunday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, every Sunday night. Till next time, go Bucks.